We on the video, so we gotta let the music play a little bit longer. Mm. Mm. I can't wait to get my air horn. When I get the air horn, I'm gonna be blasting that thing, man. Shout out to Envision Worldwide. You know, my guy Lee from back home in the States. You know, New York native music savant. He blessed us. He blessed us with that intro music.
Sure.
Yeah, we needed that. That was right. That was right up our alley there. Bridgin the Gap podcast. We back. Episode 17. Number 2 in the studio. Y'all get to see our faces. You know, we've been cartoons for everybody for the last 16?
Handsome cartoons though.
Yeah.
Ethan's been doing a great job with
that. Yeah, for sure. So I'm Coach Ryan for some. I'm Yates for people at home. Ryan Yates, the young OG. I'm here with double OG, triple OG, you know, Julian King, aka JK, aka never seen a donut he ain't like, aka Jules the Jeweler. Oh, my bad. It's my guy. This is my high school coach. I've known him for over a decade. We went from player coach to, you know, mentor to now business partner. This is my guy. This is family. Coach, what's up?
Man, let's stop. Let's stop with that. Seriously, we need to change that. That never seen a donut in your life. That's old. That's played. You know, I don't get down with donuts that much.
It's played.
I get down with them on a weekend type scenario.
Okay, tell me right now, because I want you to tell the truth. Is there a Krispy Kreme box on your counter in your kitchen?
No.
Was it one earlier today?
No.
Or last night?
No.
You're lying, because I came in there and I saw it. The Krispy Kreme box, mind you, last week, maybe a couple of days ago, you had 3 donut hole boxes in there that you had offered me, but you'd already ate the first 2, and there was only one left. But I know that's your vice. But you had a Krispy Kreme box.
But you're making it seem like I eat them every day. It's a once in a weekend type thing.
Okay.
Weekend, not even the week. Once a weekend type thing.
So you like to say you like to keep it a buck, you keep it real, you don't fake the funk, as you would say. So as I said, I've known him since I was 15. I'm going on 29. Right. So as you can imagine, one, I couldn't talk much when I was in high school. It was all him. It was a one-sided conversation. I couldn't say anything, but I always watched. It is one particular day he picks me up because this is my basketball coach. You know, I do owe him everything that I've done as a player to him.
Well, that's a little foreign to some people. Hold on, because some people had high school coaches that never picked them up. So that might be a foreign concept to them.
You're right, but we're talking about donuts right now, right? So let's say you pick me up about 7 o'clock maybe in the morning, 7:30 or something like that, and we're going to go work out. But before we go work out, you know, he stops at Shoppers. Shoppers is like Carrefour here. It's one of those type of situations. So we get in there, and Shoppers has these jumbo donuts. Jumbo, not regular size, but jumbo. So he picks them up, a dozen of them, and an orange juice, right? And we're in the car driving. I'm starving. He on the phone with the Bluetooth in his ear. You know the old guys keep the Bluetooth in their ear. And eating a jumbo glazed donut, talking, juice throwing back. You know, offer me one. And to this day, he's still the donut bandit. So that's a backstory. I'm not just throwing a donut out there because it's random, but you like yours, Homer.
Let me say this first.
That's not a fact?
First.
Was I lying? Was I telling the truth?
This story is getting old.
It's true though, right?
This story is getting tired because it's not completely true. And then you always throw in little subtle jabs at the older crew, right? Yeah, I have a Bluetooth. I still have a Bluetooth. You know why? I want to be hands free when I'm driving. Safety first. Especially when I got children in the car.
Safety first. All good. Either way, that's my OG. You know, as I said, from high school coach to mentor, I coach my younger brother. We're here in Dubai. I'm from Alexandria, Virginia. That's where we met, grew our relationship. And we are here as business partners in Dubai, building a basketball brand called Hoopmountain.ae. You can follow us on Instagram at Hoopmountain.DXB or find us online at Hoopmountain.ae. But this is kind of us having a moment to share our audio journal, talk, because we only know each other on this side of the world, right? It's kind of crazy to be 20-year age difference and you're now business partners. So we're here building a brand. And with that also came us starting this podcast, Bridgin the Gap podcast. But let's check in. How you feeling, OG?
You know how I feel, man. Let's get right to it. You always say that. It's the same thing all the time. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to work.
I'm talking about your life, man. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm
good. If I'm sitting here, that means I'm good.
See, that's the thing. That's the reason why we're here. You know, that's the difference. You see the difference in age? For the old heads, you want to rush into stuff because you don't have patience. You always talk about us as younger generation. We don't have patience for stuff. But look at Oscar the Grouch over here. I called him that last week, too. I just want to see if you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
You all right?
Yeah. If I didn't call 911 or anything or whatever the number is here, or you didn't have to come get me from somewhere, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Physically, how you feeling?
I'm great.
You great?
Yeah, you know I got aches and pains from years of miles on my feet, but I'm good.
Yeah, and you've been lucky these last couple of weeks as we haven't played basketball on those Saturdays. Usually, if you listen to our earlier episodes, Coach has been getting L after L after L from me and my squad on those Saturday late night works. It's really some revenge from back in the day because now he can't move like he used to. He's better than any other coach in the UAE at his age, that's for sure, but when he steps in the jungle with the Lions, he get ate up.
We just did a few rounds of King of the Court this past Saturday, and I came out victorious.
You beat young baby Luca, as we call him, baby Luca on that one.
And I beat you several times.
No, you didn't. Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna start taking Abdullah. And first of all, let us shout out Collective, our videographer, our video team behind all of our creative things. And shout out to him. So much could not be done without him and his graciousness. But we're going to have Abdullah come to the gym, and we're going to have him film and break down everything. So now, you know, the camera don't lie. The camera does not lie. So we'll see. We'll see. You'll see how he cheats. You know what I'm saying? You'll see what those donuts really do to your game. Make sure you have good eating habits. But, you know, that's good to hear. I'm glad you're feeling all right.
Post cereal. That's all I got to say. Everybody back home will know what I'm talking about. You guys in the UAE, I'll school you on that later.
Raisin Bran. You know, at your age, you need that good fiber cereal. You know, that Raisin Bran. That's what that is.
Toast Crunch, baby.
Sweet. It's easy. It's easy. No, that's good, man. But this has been another good week for us. As we said, we run a basketball brand as far as the academy, so we're teaching basketball at the grassroots to a community that doesn't really have a basketball culture. So every week when we get to watch our youngins grow and kind of pick up on the basketball slang, you know, their swagger is changing, their confidence is growing, they're interacting more with their peers. It's always a good week no matter how the business is going, right?
Right. Yeah. You can see the subtle differences in each player's game each week by being around us and being able to open up a little bit more, being a little more social, which basketball is a social game, and their confidence is rising each week, and that's it's precious to see because some of these kids weren't even thinking about basketball a year ago.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, and as I always hint to, we'll start to share more and more of what that experience is like, because we're literally teaching basketball to a population that does not get to watch basketball. And so for people at home, this kind of sound crazy, but just imagine not being able to, they don't really know anything. Man, we have to teach them everything. It's a blank canvas. So, you know, it takes a special type of teacher to be able to, you know, relay those messages and enjoy and help kids enjoy just being around basketball while teaching them something that they're foreign to. But thank you for asking. I feel good. Thanks Ethan. Ethan's back there. Ethan's our guy, a creative guy, our graphic designer, man of many talents in the tech world. That's my young boy back there. Thank you for Ethan's back there telling me to make sure I tell the people how I feel, because Obviously, he doesn't. That's something that the older generation does too. They just neglect our feelings, but it's okay. I feel good. I'm happy. It's the weather is great. That always keeps me in good spirits. I'm happy to see another day. So thanks for asking, big dog.
Well, I mean, you pretty much let everybody know how you feel anyway because you talk so much. So I mean, I think they got it. There's no need me to double down on it. And Ethan, thank you, man, for putting up with this guy because. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't have the patience that you had, we'd be in big trouble. Thank you.
That's interesting. That's interesting. You're an interesting guy. But let's jump into some stuff. We're basketball guys, right? So let's just get into some check-in stuff. My lake show, we waived my guy Quinn Cook.
Yeah. I hate to see him go. I think. There'll be a chance for him to come back for sure.
Yeah, well, they're saying that teams around the league are showing interest. A guy like Quinn Cook, he's been in championship locker rooms, right? He shoots over 40% from the tray ball,
right?
And you just know he knows how to play basketball. That's a reliable point guard. It's kind of like how in the NFL, for people who do watch football, because not all of our viewers do, that backup quarterback is valuable to the team, right?
Right.
The same thing with backup point guard, something that you can't replace, that voice in the locker room. So Quinn is a professional, so he'll be fine. We need to make some changes though. We need a spark somewhere.
Right.
I don't know. I've seen some rumblings about getting Mo Bamba, another young big. I like it. Maybe we'll see. We need a little bit.
We want JaVale. They need to bring him back. Man.
I like JaVale's energy too, and again, he's a proven winner. He's a championship guy, and he fits well with AD. Boogie's a free agent now. They agreed to part ways with Houston, but he won't be a part of our plans. I'm actually seeing some rumblings about him going to Boston. That'd be a solid fit, and I think Boston right now is probably sitting like 500 in the standings or something like that. So,
yeah, they're definitely not in the position that we envision them being in.
Yeah, and speaking of, I saw ESPN reporter talk about how a lot of the NBA GMs are kind of ticked off is the word that they use at Danny Ainge, because earlier in the season when Kimba was hurt, Danny was trying to trade Kimba. And they were seeing him trying to trade damaged goods, knowing that he was hurt, and the other GMs were taking kind of offense to that. This is the second time he got into kind of that situation with a small guard that's hurt, right? So now you got Kimba, who is a key part to their success, is part of the reason why they're not doing well. And of course, Marcus Smart is hurt. They're small on top of that too. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because that team has high expectations, and for them to be barely 500 now, that's not a good look.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's coming back on Danny Ainge because they got a good coach.
Great.
Definitely have a good coach, and I think Danny Ainge probably got a little too much credit early on for one or two things that he did, but overall, he hasn't been outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, they always somehow, some way, Boston always has everybody's draft picks.
Yeah.
So I give them credit for that, because to get Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown from the draft, that's pretty solid. You got Marcus Smart, but I think their biggest problem has always been they have no force in the middle.
Well, I mean,
but
whose responsibility is that?
Danny.
That's GM. That's GM.
No, that's
he's
sure.
got to make it happen.
Yeah, that's not bad. What else we got here? Luka just hit a big game winner the other night.
Against who?
I think Luka hit that against the Warriors, maybe? No, it wasn't. Who did Luka hit that against? Boston. Ironic. Hit it against Boston in the late game one.
Wow.
Luka doing what Luka does. Here we go. This is what I want to bring up. Kristaps Porzingis. I'm hearing that the Mavericks are putting him up for a trade, possibly.
Whoa.
And sending him to. And they're in talks with the Warriors about that. I don't know what that looks like. But that's an interesting talk. It's something just to look at. I just saw something. They threw some things out there in the air, but I'm not seeing too many more reports about it. But something to keep in mind.
I mean, man, if Porzingis was 100% last year, they're a completely different team heading into the playoffs.
I mean, even now with him stepping out there, he getting the 36, 8 3-pointers and stuff. That's a different animal.
Yeah, he's a bad man. He just got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if they're putting him out on the trade, they better be getting something worthwhile because Luka is hot right now.
Yeah.
And so you got to strike now. So you ain't got time to be waiting 2 years, 3 years down the road.
Yeah. Oh, I guess somebody put that out prematurely because Dallas just made sure they said specifically that Porzingis is going to be in the Dallas a bit longer than what they expected. So which makes sense because you can't get rid of a guy like Porzingis. It's a unicorn.
Right.
You got to keep him around. You got to see what his future looks like. The Knicks and Nets, they're going to be having fans at their games on February 23rd. And we're starting then. So that's going to be big. First of all, shout out to the Knicks, to Tim Thibodeau. We'll get into the All-Star breakdown later, but they're playing competitive basketball finals.
Oh, for sure. They're not a laughingstock anymore.
Yeah, what's your guy, Leon Rose?
Leon Rose.
Yeah, Leon Rose, somebody that you actually have spent some time around.
Yeah.
They've made some things change. I think World Wide West is over there.
Yeah, he's definitely going to make it pop in some form or fashion.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So the Knicks are looking good. The Nets are on a 7-game win streak. Without and KD hasn't been playing, so I'm nervous. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm nervous. I really am. As a Laker fan, I'm looking at it like, we gotta make some things shake and make this happen. Because our only shot is if they get into that Eastern Conference Finals and they have to face Joel Embiid, who I think is the front runner for MVP right now.
Right.
And he goes and has a Shaq-esque dominant performance. And the others can show up, then they might can get Brooklyn out of there. But Brooklyn, man, that's firepower. That's tough.
Yeah, again, we know it's box office offensively, but the true test is what you gonna do in the playoffs.
But that's the thing, though.
Are you gonna strap up?
They've been getting stops late game, and now when you're that good offensively. You just got to get timely stops. And they're getting stops at the end of the game. They're like putting in effort at the end of the game. Now Iman Shumpert is playing. Now Andre Roberson is playing. So they got some wing guys.
Right. Those are definitely, defensive-minded wings.
Yeah, heavily. And now for sure they know they don't have to worry about anything else. Any bucket you get from them is like candy from a baby. It's light. Like this adding that just helps us out even more. So, man, we got to watch out. It's going to make for a wild playoff.
You're saying watch out. You got to make it out the West first.
We got it.
Clippers looking pretty good.
They do. But we got it.
Okay.
We got it. We got it for sure. I'm not too worried about that. And then we'll talk. We'll get into some more NBA stuff. The NBA refs.
Got it.
NBA refs are interesting. Only reason I'm bringing this up is not because of the Draymond thing, but because of the tech that JJ Redick got. You saw that?
Yes.
I think that was a little egregious. It was a little crazy. There might have been some personal feeling there or something.
Listen, that was a terrible call. He should never have received a tech for that. But we don't know what was said before that. Or whether something said, a prior altercation they had, in a game before that. But we all know that referees are just like anybody else. They suffer from human nature. And human nature sometimes has us act out of character.
It happens too often. You brought up a valuable point, though, off air. You said that if they got paid more, they'd probably be able to take a little bit more of that.
Well, you say it happens too often. I don't think it happens as often because players say a lot of stuff to referees nightly. And you think about it, each team plays 82 games, and some of these refs, they're just as busy. They may ref 60, 70 games, whatever. And every night you got somebody barking at you. And again, if you're a star, that bark ain't so bad because you're like, okay, that's the guy. But when you're getting barked at by guys that aren't producing, that stings a little bit, especially when you know that your wallet is a little light compared, considering you're refereeing in the NBA.
That's interesting though. I just saw a video on Instagram where they showed the old school refs, like 70s, 80s, and even early 90s. Refs telling Bird, stop complaining, shut up, stop being a baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Things were different then.
Yeah.
Things were different.
Completely different everywhere, all across the board. Right?
Referees aren't allowed to speak like that now.
Yeah.
Because referees back in the day, he might say that to Bird, but you respected the referees because everybody was on a grind.
True.
Now, the referees are still on a grind. Some players aren't.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it is what it is. Referees are part of the game. We need them before we can, if we want to have anything.
Sure.
So figure it out, make it work. Before we get into the topic list for today, Tiger Woods was in a car accident. They said they had to use the jaws of life to get him out of the crash, but he is, after surgery, they say he's in stable and lucid condition. So that's good to hear. Tiger, get a driver.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, man.
Yes.
After the incident that happened before in Florida.
Yeah.
Man, stop driving yourself, man.
Get a driver, big dog.
Yeah.
We need you here still to, be a shining light to our youth. Share what you can with the world while you're here. Get a driver, big dog.
Yeah.
Get a driver, man.
Yeah.
Good. Glad you're good, though. But let's get into this NBA All-Star game.
All right.
NBA All-Star game. By the time this episode drops, it'll drop like a day or so before the All-Star game. And, the full rosters are here. So we'll start, and as always, there's two captains. And, the captain for one team for the East side is going to be KD because he got the most votes there.
Right.
And Bron for the West because he got the most votes there.
Right.
And they'll get to choose from a pool of players. Old playground. You pick first, I pick second, right? So the starters for the All-Star game, and I don't think we'll have much to say about it. For the East, it's KD, Giannis, Bradley Beal, Joel Embiid, and Kyrie.
That's solid.
Solid?
That's solid.
Right?
Solid.
For the West, you got Bron, you got Steph, Luka, Joker, and Kawhi. Right?
Okay.
No argument there. And then for the Eastern Conference reserves.
Well, no. Let me go back. There is an argument there.
Okay, well, yeah. Luka even said it himself. Dame should be started.
Dame should be. Yeah. Dame Dollar should be in there.
Well, that's where the fan voting comes in because,
Okay.
International player, you're going to get as many votes as possible because of that. But so we'll take there, but still a solid 5, right? So we'll get into the reserves. We got Jaylen Brown, we got James Harden, we got Zach LaVine for his first time.
Yeah, he deserves.
You got Julius Randle for his first time.
A lot of people gonna smirk at that, but I've always liked his game.
Yeah, well, I was a Laker guy, so I was disappointed because I knew how great he could be, but he came into a tough situation. So I'm glad he bounced back.
They were using him wrong.
Yeah, Luke. I didn't like Luke as a coach anyway, so I agree. Ben Simmons, Jason Tatum, and Nikola Vucevic from Orlando, a monster, right? So I think the East is actually pretty solid. I think they got everything right for the most part. I don't think there's anybody that really got snubbed. Maybe Sabonis from Indiana, because Indiana's always top 4, and he's strong, tough. Chris Middleton, you could say, but they aren't really having a great year. They don't really deserve two All-Stars in my mind. But let's get to the Western Conference reserves. We got Anthony Davis. You got Paul George. You got Rudy Gobert. You got Dame Lillard, Dame Dollar, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, and you have Zion Williamson getting his first All-Star appearance. Now, before we get into, who would we pick first and everything else, there's one name left off this list that I feel like is glaring.
For sure. And
needs to be put on there, like, at every top guard position, it needs to be his name mentioned. That's Devin Booker.
D-Book.
For sure.
For sure.
So what are you thinking with this?
If I'm gonna remove somebody from the West, let me say that again. You already know. I'm taking
Zion.
I'm taking Zion off.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing well, but
the Pelicans aren't that competitive.
Yeah.
One, right? And then you don't do what the Suns are doing. The Suns are number 4 in the standings,
right.
and they're looking every day more and more like a team that really can compete for a chip, right? So I'm thinking, I get it why they did it. Zion is one of those guys that they're going to push to be that next star, face of the league type thing. But, it is what it is. Those things happen.
But it can't happen that often because D-Book, I think he could have been on there last year.
For sure. And what's going to happen is, because Anthony Davis is not going to play because of injury, right? So he's going to come in as a reserve replacement. It still ain't hitting right because he deserved to be in there outright.
Yeah, I'm not going.
You got to go, man.
I'm not going.
This is what I would say. All right, who you got being MVP of the All-Star game?
Possibly Kyrie.
Ooh. Okay.
Because everybody's got a lot to say about him, including me. And I think he's gonna put the ball in the hole.
And he puts on a show.
Yeah.
He puts on a show. You got a second pick? I'll give you. Let's go 2.
Second pick, your boy Levine.
Ooh.
Because he's one that he could have been in there before, for sure. He's playing in that, godforsaken market in Chicago.
Ooh.
Like, I know a lot of Midwestern people don't want to admit it, but Chicago, it's a dump now.
Yeah.
And it was a dump before MJ got there. It was a dump after him, except for those 2 years when Derrick Rose was there.
Yeah.
And they had a bright spot. But other than that, dump.
And he is torching the league.
Right.
He is torching. I like those picks. From the East, I'm going to go with Embiid. Doc Rivers coaching the number 1. I think Embiid is going for overall league MVP too. And I think he's going to try to, in his time, try to make his presence felt strongly amongst everybody. I'm going to Embiid there. And Dame has had to carry the Portland Trailblazers so much. I don't know how hard he's going to go because I think he want to watch what he does. But I'm either going to go Dame or Devin Booker on the other side. Just as long as Quinn Snyder lets him run, I'm going to go Dame or Devin Booker for the West. Or Paul George. We're going to talk about it. I think, and we're talking about MVP of the All-Star game. We're talking about it. And I'm going to recognize it now, Paul George, because you made me look crazy. I will acknowledge right now you're responding well. And I'm going to acknowledge it now purposely because I want to make sure that everybody knows we're acknowledging that you are killing your best shooting percentage ever regular season. But you can't do what you're doing right now and then stink it up in the playoffs, especially now. So we're going to acknowledge that you're doing well. We're going to acknowledge it just to keep it as a timestamp and know that we're watching you, big fella. So that's my, from the West, I'm going PG, Dame, or D-Book. And from the East,
okay,
I'm going with Joel Embiid for MVP.
Okay. Joel's going to have a hard time getting it just because he's a dependent type player.
Yeah.
So they got to bring in the ball.
Yeah. Well, I think something's going to work. Yeah. But I like that Kyrie pick, though, because Kyrie definitely got something to say.
Yeah.
But so we got our picks there. So my East picks going to be Levine and Embiid. West picks, I'm going to go with Dame. And I think that the D-Book is going to get put into the All-Star game because I don't think AD is going to play. So I'm going to go there, pending Dame and D-Book there.
Dame is not. He's not concerned about being MVP of the All-Star game.
Yeah, that's my look because I think that's one of those that he needs. Because I think I'm looking at it as I don't think he's going to win an MVP of the league. Not saying he doesn't deserve it, but we know media dictates a lot of that stuff, and I don't know if they're going to push him to the forefront for that. So he got to get one of those.
You're saying that this is what he needs. Dame, he's not that type of dude. He don't care.
I know, I get that. I just think that sometimes he just go get some things if he wanted. I think this could be one of those moments.
But I don't think he will. Okay.
Yeah,
That's your guy. That's your guy.
I think he'll do it. But when we talk about All-Star games, because All-Star games are dope. I remember, I forgot what age I was, but the All-Star game came to D.C. And, you know, D.C., that's hometown love. And moms took me to all those pre-game festivities when they had the stuff going on outside of the old MCI Center. It wasn't Verizon Center. It might even be a different name now. But they had all this stuff there, and All-Star energy is just top-notch, high level. Like, I remember, of course, we remember Vince Carter's slam dunk stuff, Jason Richardson's slam dunk stuff, you know, his three-point shootouts. I remember every Kobe MVP. But we talk about All-Star game moments. What are some of the dopest things that you remember from you growing up and watching? Because you got to see, like, that golden era of hoops.
You say golden era, like how old is
you got to see Wilt.
Come on, man! Like now that's blatant disrespect right there. I'm not that old.
All right, no, you were that Zeke, Magic. You got to see Gervin too. You know what I'm saying? Some of Doc. You got to see any of all that up to now. So you got to see all the jersey changes.
Yes, I did.
You got to see it from when everybody had the uniform, the regular uniform, to everybody wearing the team uniform respectively, to the special ones, to even now it's some different ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably the one that sticks out the most to me, Ralph, like I said, is Magic. When Magic played in the All-Star game after announcing to the world, not just the NBA, not just the United States, to the world, he was HIV positive. And that shook up the sports world. I'd say everything in terms of worldwide sports stopped for 48 hours to talk about that. You know, and for him to go in there and get, I think he got like 25, 26 points and a victory in the All-Star game, get MVP, that's what you call a comeback.
Man, it's not registering all the way what you're saying right now.
Why?
Because I remember seeing a highlight, this is 92, right? And I was just born that year. I was born in 92, so I wasn't around for any of this. But I remember seeing highlights. I remember seeing highlights of this later, you know, as All-Star games going, they always do flashback. And I was like, wasn't Magic, you know what I'm saying? He had a situation. So he was playing? I thought he was sitting out. Yeah. And he hadn't played. He played what, like a couple games that year and a game. That's just a crazy thought altogether. And from what I heard, it was more about a public announcement and a public service announcement for people to understand that because he had the virus didn't mean that it was something he had to be quarantined from or isolated.
His life didn't end. He could still carry on with a normal life, and for him to, the reason his season was cut short was some players and some people in in the outside world still weren't as educated on HIV as they are now, and so there was a huge misunderstanding, and so of course naturally there's something you don't know too much about, you're going to be very cautious with, and so they cut his season short, but he was allowed to play in the All-Star game, and and for the two biggest other stars, MJ and Isaiah, to have some one-on-one matches with him where they're going at each other, they're body to body, sweat to sweat, that made a lot more people at ease, for those two guys to put themselves at risk when it really wasn't a risk, just because at that time Magic was following all the proper protocols to keep everybody safe. Right.
Yeah, that's just something only Magic can do. Every time you look at Magic, even now, you're just like, that's just Magic. He only do the stuff that he do. I don't even know the questions to ask, because I got questions. I don't know how to put them in words. Like, I just let it go. That's just Magic.
Yeah.
But the NBA All-Star Weekend is like, it's stuff that legends are made of. Right? Like, legendary moments happen. MJ dunking from the foul line. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dr. J. Right,
dunking from the foul line with the fro.
Yes, that dunk contest moment. Even Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon going back.
That was one of that may have been top 2 of all time.
To resurge, right? Yes. Vince Carter having his moments. Jason Richardson too was quiet as kept. He had some big time moments in the dunk contest
for sure.
Like those times, we're kind of going to miss out on that to an extent, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same show that we normally get.
Right.
We got the players on the side with the camcorder back in 95, 96. You know what I'm saying? The iPhones in this era.
Right.
Like, it's going to be a different energy. One of my favorite moments, of course, all of my favorite moments encompass Kobe somehow, some way. One of my favorites is really from 2001 when AI won the MVP. And they ended up beating us. I say us like I'm part of the team. The West.
You
the
say
West.
that a lot.
I am who I am. I'm a Kobe guy, Laker guy. But it was an 0-1 game when the East came back and beat the Western Conference after being down. I think AI had like 15 in the fourth quarter to take over and win. Him and Stephon Starbury.
I remember that. Starbury.
And they were getting busy. And Kobe had a chance for the last shot and dished it to Tim Duncan, and he tricked it up. And they won that, and AI won the MVP. And just having that moment and seeing that was just dope. Because that was one of the few times where the All-Star Game is competitive.
Right.
Right? It's that competition. Because it's really the greatest show in the world. Where else do you get all of the best players, 24 of the best players in the world of basketball, hands down the world, in one spot? Every star from every walk of life, everybody's there. Weekend is extravagant, and you get to just see them perform at one time.
Yeah, in comparison to some of the other sports, like you got the Pro Bowl, you got Major League Baseball does something. This is one thing where guys, when they decide to go hard, they can go hard at each other for brief moments. Because what does most of the population in the world do that they play basketball? Mm-hmm. Whether it's in the NBA, CBA, international basketball, YMCA, we all know we've had those moments where we've been in a dogfight with one of our boys and we tried to kill each other for about 30, 40 minutes and the game didn't mean anything.
Right.
But it was just a pride thing.
Right.
And so the NBA All-Star Game is one of those situations where those guys, for the most of it, there were a couple years where it was a little lackluster, but for the most part, at some point in time, some guy's gonna get with it.
And that's the thing too. For the last 4 years, pretty much after Kobe, because Kobe and CP3, they always talked about how whenever they were on teams together, they never lost an All-Star game because they just had a different level of competitiveness. Right. But when Kobe in his latter years, that All-Star game started to become like a freelance open gym. Right. But with last year's format changing,
which was great.
Great. Shout out to Chris Paul and the NBA for making that happen so effectively. And now they're continuing it and adapting it. I think that keeps the competitive fire high, right? And so that makes it for even more of an entertaining game. But one thing I do worry about is the fact that it's COVID NBA season, right? So everything is the recovery time for a lot of those teams, like the Lakers, Heat, and all those other different teams, is shorter. So they will want a break right now before they go into the second half of the season. So a lot of those older guys, I won't be surprised to see them take back seats and sit out more. It's tough for LeBron to do that because LeBron is LeBron. We want to see you play, big dog. But
yeah, we want to see you play, man. But you got to do what's best.
You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what's best for the team.
We need you to do that. Yeah. We need you to do that. And another one big moment, because you like to point out, Coach is an old head, right? We in the car. Sometimes he'll get on me about the music we play. So I hit him with a sneak, and I throw out some oldies, right, that he don't even know I'm listening to. So I think we might have been listening to some old school Earth, Wind and Fire or something like that. And then he was like, "Oh, tell me who sung the national anthem at this time for the Lakers." And I was like, "What? I don't know." I remember the song. I remember the name. It was Jeffrey Osborne, right? But the greatest rendition of the national anthem ever was done at the NBA All-Star Game. And it was done by none other than Marvin Gaye himself.
Mr. Marvin Gaye.
That man, Mr. Marvin Gaye himself. So that's another one of those legendary moments.
For sure.
Even, what was his name? Fergie sung at the All-Star Game at one time. And Draymond and them was in the huddle laughing. Dying. I've had those moments too. There have been a couple times where I've been at some games and there had some people singing the national anthem. I'm looking like, yo, buddy sound like he got a frog stuck in his throat.
I remember one particular high school game, shout out to Steve Calatuni, where he put in the wrong CD.
Man.
And couldn't figure it out back there. You know, we had that new sound system that
it's bumping.
that nobody knew how to operate except 3 people. So
no, that's not it. We're excited for the All-Star game. That's gonna be dope. I'm looking forward to seeing all of that. I wonder. I think what is it? Gladys Knight will be saying the national anthem this year. Shout out to Auntie Gladys.
Awesome,
man.
still doing her thing.
Yeah, for sure. We love that. But we talk about bridging the gap. We talk about it all the time, and a lot of that has to do with you educating me on things, and as an OG, letting me share some stuff that might enlighten you. But you brought up a couple times. You mentioned some names that I had never heard of. I'm a basketball junkie too, but you brought up the name one time, Damon Bailey, right? And I had no idea what you were talking about. I was like, well, Damon Bailey, who's that? Is that a kid from Chicago or from around the way or whatever? But Damon Bailey is what you told me was probably he had the most hype around him as any high school player ever, right? Right up there with LeBron and maybe even bigger in some other stint. Something I didn't know about.
Right.
And I'm like, we got to hear more about this story.
Right. I don't even know how it came up, but it was just something that me and some older guys were talking about once before, like who were the top 5 most hyped high school basketball players ever. And it's hard to name people that were before the social media era, because with social media, I mean, that just takes hype, to another level. But this guy is one of the guys that always came up that unsuspectedly, he didn't look the part.
Yeah.
He looked, if you were to see him, you think he sells insurance. But he was a gorilla in high school. And he was really good in college.
I want you to break it down and what that was like, but let me read off some of his accolades from high school, right? Damon Bailey from Indiana. All right, you guys know that Indiana State during that time, basketball was ruthless. Damon Bailey was Sports Illustrated declared he was the country's best 9th grade hoopster in his freshman year.
It's crazy.
He lost in the semifinals at the state Final Four his freshman year. He lost in the Final Four his sophomore year. He led the team to the Indiana State Championship his senior year with a 3-point win. He was named first team Indiana All-State all 4 years of high school. He finished his career appearing in 3 state Final Fours and had a scoring record of 3,134 points that still stands to this day. This dude scored 3,134 points in high school. He averaged 28 points all 4 years of his school, over 4 years. He was named Indiana Mr. Basketball, of course. He was McDonald's All-American. He was a 1990 National Player of the Year. And he elected to play for Bobby Knight in Indiana. And after winning the championship, one of his famous quote was to reporters referring to Bobby Knight. He said, "Now I'm his boy." Wow. That's just the accolades, but you were there, you heard. Tell me what that was like, because you didn't have social media, and I know you heard about it.
Just to hear his name being mentioned by commentators during a college game, and they're talking about a kid that's 2 years from college. He's a sophomore in high school, and they're talking about
that's like 88, 89.
It's crazy. And of course, once you heard somebody's name, you would start to look them up, and then you start to realize, he's the real deal. Because I know people look at, you said 3,000 plus points. People are probably thinking that, he probably played against some bums. Well, let me explain Indiana State High School basketball to you. When they start their state tournament, at one particular time, they didn't have classifications. They didn't have 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. Everybody was in that joint together.
Yeah. So for you listeners that kind of don't have the same thing, sometimes schools are broken up into different sections based on the school population, how many people are there. He's saying in Indiana, if you had 700 kids in your school, you still played against a school that had 3,000 kids in their school.
Right.
Different pool.
Different pool. And there was a story where Damon Bailey, his family, had to hire a security company to keep people from stealing their lawn. This is Indiana basketball. You know, everybody said the movie Hoosiers is, you know, loosely based around some of his high school.
Really?
Yeah. His high school.
He was Jimmy? Damien was Jimmy?
Maybe. I don't know. But it was similar.
Hold on. Before you carry on the story, what are you going to do with somebody's lawn?
I mean, but it's no different than when the Lakers stopped playing at the Forum. And I use the Lakers because you're a Lakers fan. People stopped playing at the Forum. People want to get a piece of that floor. People want to get a piece of the parquet at Boston.
I get the hardwood floor, King. What you gonna do with the grass, yo?
Hey, man, but listen,
you taking the soil with you, the roots?
But basketball was a religion there.
Man,
so you just want a piece of this guy.
I ain't say you want a sneaker or a sock or something. Hey, man, you want this man grass.
Yeah.
You want the bugs that come with the grass. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was, you were around, he was a peer of yours, right? You guys were in high school, same. So like, we have Ball's Life, we have Hoop Mixtape, we have any and every type of outlet to see and hear about anything, so it doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
So like, how did you hear through the grapevine? What does that look like?
This was, you know, Street and Smith's old basketball publication. You know, you had Blue Chips.
Blue Chip.
You know, BC All Stars. You know, what's the joint where everybody went outside? Five Star. Yeah. You know, you would just hear through, you know, you read the paper. You know, that's what we did back in the day, everybody. We read the paper and we bought magazines and had a publication of everybody. And this guy
still read the newspaper with hard copy.
Shut up. Yeah, shut up. You know. You know, so you know, you see this guy's name at the top of every list, and you know, you really research it, you realize, whoa, it ain't just a myth. It's for he could really play. And then he goes on to, you know, Indiana, and he still has a really good college career after having multiple knee surgeries.
I think he said he had 7 knee surgeries.
Whoa.
7 knee surgeries, and he still went on to play in the CBA as well. He played in the CBA. He was an All-American in '94, his senior year. He was Big Ten freshman of the year. So he had moments still in school where he was doing his thing. But man, Damon Bailey. So he would have given you the work.
Yeah, he probably would. Yeah.
Well,
but you know, on one end, you know, I see you back there laughing. On one end now, on the other end now, I'm put him in the car seat because I'm going to the post.
Man, all that post cereal, huh?
Post cereal.
That's dope though. We gotta, but I remember you telling me, what made his victory? Because you said he had to play. Well, his school was a small school, maybe 700 kids or whatever, and they won a state championship finally his senior year. And what team did they have to beat?
I don't remember the name of the team, but I think it had something to do with Big Dog Glenn Robinson. We gotta look that up.
It's Concord High School. So let's see. Let me check. Concord High School, and I believe so. Concord High School in Indiana. Yep, I believe Big Dog. And we gotta break down who Big Dog is while I look this up, because that's one of those guys who still don't really people don't understand.
Big Dog may have been one of the first true stretch fours. You know, he was a guy that came out. If you guys remember the Fab Five from Michigan, shout out to Rick Brunson because he was with those guys at McDonald's All-Star Game. He actually won MVP with those guys. Big Dog was a guy that went to Purdue. No one knew how he got there, why he would go there, but we'll talk about that later. but he's a guy that put on a show while he was in college. 6'9", 6'10", and could really shoot the ball from outside the three. And he can mix it up as well, but being a stretch four is what he did best. And so I think it was Big Dog and company.
It was Big Dog. It was Big Dog.
And he had a mob with him.
Yeah.
You know, and just the fact that, come on, man, you know, they had
brothers.
Yeah, there's a bunch of brothers.
Yeah. It was Hoosiers.
It was Hoosiers, man.
Hoosiers.
So
he went in there and got a big one.
Yeah, to get a victory over them, that was. Yeah. There was a lot of people lost some money that night.
That's a story that's like, when you talk about basketball, your triumphs, your ups and your downs. Somebody like Damon Bailey, you know, to be that astonishing in high school, to have that type of presence on the court, that type of star power early, right? And you get to feel that early. You get to feel what those type of victories are like early, so you kind of get to see where your star can potentially go. And then you get to college and you are bedridden by injuries. Yeah. Right? That's kind of the ebbs and flows of the basketball life and that basketball culture, to where you can be so high at one point, you know, having the biggest upsets, you know, right. The best player to ever play in high school in a state like Indiana, you know, take it the David and Goliath, you know, that whole story. And then the next day, you know, your legs are gone and you're out of it. Yeah. But there's always a lesson that's set there, right? Right. Your time is never forgotten. You are a legend for what you've done in that moment. But that isn't who you are as a whole, so don't let it consume you. Right.
Don't take it for granted. You know, enjoy the moment, and you know, whatever happens, and you move on. You know, there's so much more life to live, and that's what he did, because a lot of people would have, you know, just crumbled. You know.
Right. We're gonna have to find some footage of Damon Bailey too, because man, that's some buckets. Yeah, that's some buckets. It's gonna be something. It's probably gonna be some vintage VCR looking VHS tape, but we're gonna find something.
If Bobby Knight offers you a scholarship as a freshman in high school in 1992, you can hoop.
Yeah, Bobby is one of them crazy ones too.
Yeah, man.
Bobby's one of the crazy. But speaking of coaches, because coaches are important, especially when it comes to grassroots basketball. You know, developing a community, growing, being a pillar, part of a community. But when it comes to just the competitive nature of the sport, when it comes to getting your team prepared and winning games, because eventually you do want to play games and you do want to win. Right. You want to get you there. Let's talk about situations where a coach gets out-coached. And we don't want to talk about this just like in some, you know, some vague situation. Let's really get into it, to where maybe a situation where you've gotten out-coached, or you've been in a situation where your coach, you could tell he wasn't prepared, and the guy on the other end is just having his way with them, winning the chess match. But let's talk about that moment of realizing, one, as a player, your coach on the other side is getting his mans knocked off.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I can say I've been blessed with playing for some pretty high-level coaches. And any time that we've come up short, it thoroughly came down to they had somebody wearing a different jersey that was just better than anybody on our squad. And their coach put them in a position where they had the opportunity to be successful. So I can say that. I can definitely mention a lot of times where I felt I got out coached because I wasn't being myself.
What does that mean, though?
Not being myself is meaning maybe overthinking things, being a little too controlling, and trying to control every player's moves, every player's thoughts.
Let's stay there.
Okay.
Because that's an interesting space, because the basketball is one to where, I mean, most sports anyway, to where you can't have too much control over the game. Right? Unless you're like one of those rigid offensive places. But like, what's your balance there as a coach? How do you find your balance of letting your guys go and knowing when to step in and come and control that.
Well, part of it is 50% on the coach, 50% on the player. You know, like you guys have to trust each other. And unfortunately for the player, you have to come in first, and it's your job to earn the coach's trust because you're in a position that you wouldn't be in if that coach didn't believe in you and moved you up or brought you in or whatever, however you want to say it. And then after you prove that you're willing to believe in the coach and do everything that he or she asks, then it's up to the coach to say, you know what? Now that player has earned my respect, my trust, now I have to give the same thing to that player. And so, you know, and it works the same way for management because, you know, you got to allow, if you hire a coach, you got to allow your coach to be your coach. You know, if they make a mistake, you know, you may want to comment on it, whatever, but you can't hold it over their head because people make mistakes. And that's the same way with coaches and players. And so many times we get into a situation where we're so concerned with the outcome of the situation that we start thinking into too many negative scenarios.
Right.
And we think that we're being prepared, but we're overthinking the game, and we outcoach ourselves. And I've been a victim of that, and then I've been a victim of being so emotional about something that I didn't make a necessary move that I typically would have made, and it's just about being comfortable. And so, and I'm definitely a victim of that, and I've never been a person to not go in and apologize to my team and say that. And then that's another aspect of it because we all know there's coaches who won't apologize and admit their mistakes.
Yeah.
You know.
But all right, so on the flip side, what do you do to correct that? Because if we as players we miss game requires us to make 2 free throws to win. We only go for 1 for 2. The next day, for that next week, we probably shooting 100 made free throws at the end of the night every day just to be prepared for that next moment. What do you as coaches do to combat that and prepare yourself for the next space and how to get out of your own way and even trust more of your players?
Well, you got to put yourselves and your players in those difficult situations at practice as best you can. You know, I learned the hard way. There will never be a practice I have where we don't do game situation stuff. You know, and you know,
a lot of coaches don't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
or watch film.
Yeah, it can't be just we're running through sets. You know, we want to do this. No, sometimes we gotta just play, and then we work through things as we play. And you know, being a guy that was a player coach, you know, on the minor league level, I realized there were times where like practice doesn't have to be so, you know, structure A, B, C, D, just because the guy before you did it. You know, you got to do what's best for your current team. And so in certain situations, I found out that I was able to get more out of my guys at practice when we were able to incorporate game action, you know, and so they're playing. And so, you know, it'd be times we might go for 2.5 hours and guys would say, Coach, we done? You know, because we've been locking horns, you know, and we've been going at it. But at the same time, while we're playing, we're going through our stuff. Yeah. We're going over certain things. And, you know, and so it is making those guys, not only are they getting a better feel for each other, but they're also being able to improvise on the fly.
Yeah, that's interesting, too. And a part of that, too, you talked about making those tough conversations. Just recently, for example, the Wizards are on a 5-game winning streak, but that's after Russ talked to the coaching staff and asked that everybody sit in the gym and that the coach tell them out loud what their roles would be, right? And as astonishing as it is, many coaches don't do that, right? Like, you just assume that somebody's going to fall in line. Even I felt it before at different places that I played. I mean, I remember vividly sitting in the room with Coach Thomas in high school where he went down the line to each one of us, all 15 of us, and told us exactly what our role was. Exactly what it was in front of everybody. It like cleared the room. The elephant was out of the room. So everything you talk about as far as getting trust so you can let your players go, that's easier to be built that way. You know, even in college and some other times, we kind of were looking for that without saying it. That type of guidance to be like, where do you want me to be on this court? You know, how does that work? I think that's part of getting out coached too. It's part of preparation.
Right. I think everything works better when people are upfront and honest with each individual.
Transparency.
Yeah.
Transparency. Yeah. That's the. So you talk about getting out coached and possibly because you're overthinking, and this is something that because I know you can toss me into the coaching world and I'm just figuring out what X's and O's, right? Like how did you grow into that space? I got friends out there who are coaching, who are getting in the coaching world. I don't know if they have mentors like I have a mentor here or my uncle, but like how did you get prepared? I know you weren't the greatest X and O guy when you first started, right?
Right, nobody is.
Right? So like, you know, where does that come into play? How do you know when somebody's got your hand, or where do you pull back from? Like what are you studying to get ready for that?
And shout out to Coach Jones, Cornell Jones.
The OG.
It's practice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's practice. You know, I just recently had a conversation with a cousin of mine he's in his second year of high school coaching on the varsity level, and we were talking about drawing up plays, you know, out of a timeout and things like that. And he was upset that his team wasn't able to execute what he drew on the board. And I said, in particularly middle school and high school, every time you draw up something, it should be something that you've run before, and you're just tweaking it so they have some familiarity with
reference.
Yes, because we all know that not everybody's a student of the game. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's around the game all the time. So you want to make things as comfortable as possible for everybody. So for the coaches, you know, everybody didn't wake up and you're Brad Stevens.
Right.
And you can just draw up a great play. It takes practice.
Right.
It takes practice. And, you know, it's got to be something that you're comfortable with and something that you've done over and over again, and that you can explain it in 2 or 3 different ways, because each player doesn't receive the information the same way.
Yeah. I always wonder, because I wanted to ask you, like, what would that feeling like for you when you, after a loss, and you knew, like, man, this didn't feel like it was on the players. You know, I've been in that space before too, where I was like, we might have lost this one, but I swear this one ain't our fault, because it felt like they were calling our plays out before we were.
Right. Right.
It felt like they knew my tendency was here, but I didn't know what theirs were there.
Right. Like there isn't a coach alive that doesn't think that way. They may not admit it, but they definitely think that way, because as a coach, you should be responsible for 4 to 6 additional points each game, where you can come up with something that your guys are going to definitely get a bucket or get a foul and get to the line and get the bucket the traditional way. But you should be able to come up with a different type of defensive scheme at some particular point in time where you create an easy scoring opportunity for your team.
Right.
So, you know, so coaches, we are responsible for that. You know, players got to put the ball in the hole and things like that, but we have to put them in situations to be successful. And you mentioned that there were times where the other team may be calling out your sets. Well, that's where the overthinking comes into play. That's when you gotta let players play.
Yeah.
Because that's why you gotta throw everything at your guys during practice, so that way it's nothing they haven't seen.
That's real.
You know?
That's real.
That's just, if you are a perfectionist at, playing man-to-man defense, man, you throw some zone at your guys, throw some traps, You got to mix it up just so that way they're not in panic mode, because you know how it is. You look over at the bench, if your coach is in panic mode, you're in panic mode.
Man, that is absolutely facts. So let's say me, when we're talking to, I know I got some young friends out there that are doing some things with hooping. I'm a book guy. I read I go look if there's something I want to learn, I know where to go find it and how to research it and all those things. But if I were to learn how to be a better X and O guy, and I just need a reference of somebody, some coach, some space, what names come to mind when you're like X's and O's? Pay attention to them out of timeouts. Pay attention to them when this ball underneath the basketball of his college basketball, or their late second plays for a 3-pointer to get to a corner three. Like what guy? Give me 5 coaches. Right,
five coaches that you'll say. Brad Stevens for sure.
Brad Stevens
out of a timeout, you're getting a bucket.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's one guy. I really, really like what Rick Carlisle does.
Yes,
I'm really a big fan of his.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may disagree with me on this next one, but I'm a big fan of Doc Rivers.
Yes. Yeah, I heard it.
Doc Rivers will put you in a position to be successful. You just got to be confident enough in your game to get it done. That's just, anytime that Doc has come up short in certain situations, it was not him.
Mm-hmm.
It was not him. Next person that comes to mind is, I'm gonna say he's a young coach. He's been around for a while, but he's really young in terms of everybody getting the name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my guy in Phoenix.
Monty Williams.
Monty Williams,
Yeah.
Because he goes beyond. He does a good job with the X's and O's, but before that, he does an even better job of getting his players to say, whatever coach says, we're gonna do it. He's getting them to fall. He's getting them to believe, and so whenever he draws up something, they're definitely getting in action and getting it done. So. Those guys for sure, and then I gotta say, I gotta give a lot of love to Spoelstra, man.
Yeah, I figured you were gonna throw that in there.
I gotta give a lot of love to Spoelstra. He doesn't get the credit he deserves because you got the Godfather up in the booth, Pat Riley.
Pat.
But Pat only has a small effect on the team. I mean, they're with Spo every day.
Yeah.
He's come up with some stuff, man, where guys, unsuspecting guys, have been heroes.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. And that aftermath with the Big Three leaving, they're still solid. Miami is still very competitive, and you got to put that down there. Yeah. So, Ethan, make sure you get together that list that Coach was talking about, because I want to make sure we share that with the followers. So, those people that want to look up stuff. Do you have some college coaches that you want to break down with that too?
For sure. I gotta give love to Jay Wright. I mean, we talk about Chris Jenkins.
No, relax.
I'm just saying, right. Chris Jenkins from the area where Ryan is from, where I came in later as an outsider and coached.
Yeah.
That play to win the national title against Ryan's Tar Heels. Think about it. That's what we talked about in terms of putting your team in an uncomfortable situation in practice. And we heard those guys say that, we run this play all the time in practice. So it was nothing.
Yeah. And they ran it like it was nothing because they didn't call a timeout after
Exactly. We knew that we were either going to make the shot or miss the shot.
Yeah,
but we were going to get the shot. That's the key thing. I got to say, in college, I got to give my guy at Gonzaga, Mark Few. Mark Few does an excellent job of putting people in spots, but we all know that 9 times out of 10, when they get deeper into the playoffs, it's just a better guy on the other side. I'm sorry.
Different level.
I'm
pros.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They got a different one this year, though.
Yes, you're right.
Different
you're
guy
right,
this
Coach.
year with the young boy.
You're right.
Yeah, Jay Wright, Mark Few.
Yep, I got those guys. And another individual, he does not get the credit he deserves, but he does an outstanding job of playing his brand of basketball and getting guys to maximize what they can do in unfamiliar positions, and that is my man at Florida State.
Leonard Hamilton.
Leonard Hamilton.
OG.
He does not get the credit he deserves.
Yeah.
But if you're 6'9" and you can shoot it, Leonard Hamilton's going to let you do what you do.
Yes. That is true.
He's gonna ask you to do one thing. You just make sure you strap up on the other end.
Yes.
But we're gonna make sure if you play the 3, that's what you do. If you play the 1, you're 6'9", that's what you do. And he's had a successful run down there, man. Successful run.
All right, so we got Leonard Hamilton, Jay Wright, Mark Few. Yeah. You got any small schools like Anthony Grant or
well, I mean, Anthony Grant was at Dayton. That ain't necessarily small. Like, they had a chance. If it weren't for COVID, listen, everybody pay attention to this. If it weren't for COVID interjecting in the situation, Dayton might have been a Final Four team.
But you remember Anthony Grant was at VCU first. Right, and he built that up. And then, Dayton is A10 or whatever, those things. But it's still Dayton, right? You don't necessarily say that that's going to be a powerhouse every year in and out. But would you say it's a mid-major type of thing, high mid-major, right? Would you say Anthony Grant is a guy that you look at for placement, all those things?
For sure. I just didn't consider Dayton as one of the little guys that is coming up. That's all. But we want to talk about one of the little guys in terms of HBCUs. We talk about there's a gentleman at North Carolina Central.
Yes, Lord.
That has been doing a hell of a job over the past few years. And, he just had he's doing something with Chris Paul.
Yeah, Chris Paul got
a
documentary coming out for them that'll be shown. He's actually doing it. Chris Paul is doing it with Stephen A. Smith.
Okay.
Which will be releasing soon. And first of all, shout out to Chris Paul.
Yes.
Chris Paul, he also has we plugging stuff like we about to get paid for this.
Who knows? Maybe.
Support black everything,
for
right?
Sure.
So, Chris Paul got the book coming out while he's helping produce this. And then, of course, he's with everything. The proceeds from the All-Star game will go to HBCUs on top of that, too. So, that's all helping amplify that. But, yeah, the North Carolina Central.
What's that coach's name? Can you look that up? North Carolina Central.
Yeah, North Carolina Central University. But yeah, that is another thing because they went to maybe like 3 or 4 consecutive NCAA
They're on the map
and made a little run in there. Yeah. But that is important too to make sure we always talk about us as players making sure you go watch the game yourself, but it's also important for you as a coach to do that as well. And it's Lavelle Moulton at North Carolina Central. Jay Wright, Mark Few, Leonard Hamilton, Lavelle Moulton, Anthony Grant. If you notice, 3 of those names are black coaches. We just watched, and it just popped up because Minnesota fired. As we've been talking about getting Anthony Edwards out of Minnesota because it's terrible, right? They just fired Flip Saunders. Ryan Saunders, and then 15 minutes later they hired the assistant coach from Toronto, right, overlooking a gentleman by the name of
David
Vanderpool on that bench who has reported the team, probably long overdue for a job as a head coach, along with several others, Sam Cassell, every other black or minority coach that had. Their time is now. They need the opportunity. But as we see, there are enough of us out there to go look at and study that can get there and get us to those spots.
Yeah. And those coaches that I named were coaches. Those are my guys that I prefer to look at. But trust me, there's 20, 30, 40 other coaches out there that do an outstanding job that you can watch. The key thing what Coach Ryan said is, go watch basketball. That's players and coaches. Yeah. And coaches, I'll say this, even if you have more experience than I do, put your ego aside. That's the main thing. I'm still a victim of that. I still have an ego sometimes and won't allow certain things to enter my thought process, but I'm working on it. And I want to get to know my players. I want to get to know their not only their strengths and their weaknesses, but I want to get to know them as people and how they operate, so that way I can have a more effective team. And I gotta understand that my way isn't always the best way because times change.
Man, that's a bar because even our legendary coaches have had to leave the game in some fashion because they didn't adapt.
Right.
They weren't chameleons. They weren't like, all right, the game has changed, and the athletes of this game are different. The creativity here is different. I gotta allow them to have some of that space to be themselves. And then I come in and I give them that foundation that they've been needing to kind of perfect and amplify that stuff there. Because the game is changing. The way the kids are dressing, the way they're talking to each other, everything is moving. But on top of that, it's elevating. And a lot of coaches kind of, as you say, want to put too much of their hand into it to stop it instead of looking at it to like, I'm here to amplify what they're doing to create, to push the game forward. I just got to find a new way. That's what it is. It's going to push you further out of your comfort zone. Because now you got to find a whole new way to coach something that you didn't think was going to be there in the first place, right?
And let me say this. The way kids are dressing now, the way kids are talking now, that's no different than the way it was back in the day. The only difference is that coaches had more authority over you, and society backed those coaches to no end. So things have changed now because we all know that it's 50-50 now. You got to basically play both sides.
Yeah, give somebody space to do what they want. But within the realm.
If you have a program, you want a certain type of player, then you need to make sure you go and recruit that type of player each time. But you got to be willing to deal with the consequences, because the majority of the players that you're recruiting may not be there. That pool may have shrunken a little bit.
Yeah, Ethan speaking out for the younger guys. He said, "Let me wear my dinosaur socks."
Never.
No.
Never.
Ethan, if you guys go check back to the old episodes, Ethan had the nerve to show up with some dinosaur socks and pastel Easter colors, and we killed them for it. But but hey, man, you guys do your thing. But I think that's a good space to wrap them up on and let them, unless you have anything else you want to throw in. No, that's a good thing. Make sure you tune in, watch, study, watch the game with a different eye. Coaches too. You will get out coached at some point, but just like you expect your players to get back in the gym, go get in the lab. Yeah. We saw a video honoring the late great John Thompson, and Patrick Ewing and those guys talked about going past the office late night, and it's midnight after the game, and he's still in there doing his thing. So no secret sauce. It's no secret sauce.
Right.
Just put in the work.
And stop watching highlights. Watch an entire game.
Coaches too. We're taking us from the coaches. Bridging that gap between. But this takes us to the end of another episode. Bridging the Gap podcast. Tale of two generations. We're here together as my OG and the young OG. We have our guy Ethan in the back with some creative content, and then Collective helping us with all the video stuff. If you're in the UAE, we're here. We're not going anywhere. We're here on a mission to build a basketball culture, a basketball community, beyond just showing up to the gym and rolling the ball out. We want to do more and show you more. I mean, basketball is the reason why we're here, So it's more than just a sport. If you're here, check us out on Hoopmountain.ae on the website. Our Instagram handle is at Hoopmountain.dxb. It's on us on Facebook, Hoopmountain Dubai. Log in, chat with us. WhatsApp. If you hit WhatsApp, you're talking to him. WhatsApp, you're talking to me. I'm on the Instagram stuff, but we are here and available. Parents, if you want to learn basketball, we're here for that. Companies, if you want to do some team building exercises, all that stuff, we're here. Check in with us. We'll make that happen. Shout out to our guys again. But as we always do before we round it up, we give our post-game wrap-ups. OG, we'll start with you.
Can I ask just one question before we go?
Yeah, I'm going to have one too.
Why are you a young OG? What quantifies that?
Because what's crazy is that I have a lot of people that call me and ask me questions. And they're asking me for whatever it is that I learned. When I was in prep school, right? Not in prep school, in college. I was a professor in college. I left 8 months, and then I came back and I was teaching a sociology class, and I was a athletic academic advisor. for people that I was actually in school with the year before, but they would always come to me for some guidance, the same way I do with you. And I would always tell them that, I get that same guidance from my OGs.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I ain't
just give it to myself.
I'm just saying, I didn't know if
Come
you
on,
were
man.
pulling a hibachi on me or whatever.
I ain't just throw that to myself,
Okay,
man.
okay.
Shout out to my young boys. But I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
What's this for? And listen. I've been waiting. If you guys listen to maybe episode 13 or 14, I had to say something about it because this is a damn Tootsie Pop. I don't know. I know you guys had the owl back in the day. Y'all had the real owl commercial. The real owl. How many licks does it take to get to the center? I can't believe this man has this thing on right now. What are you gonna do with this? You hungry?
Listen, first of all,
Hey, man.
what I have to eat is no concern of yours.
I'm worried about you, man. That's a lot of sugar in there.
Yeah, but sometimes I need something to just keep me going. And, you know what I'm saying? We pull some long hours here.
Long hours. Most people go get some coffee. You got a damn Tootsie Pop.
I don't drink coffee, so I gotta substitute.
All right.
So it's okay.
That's love, man.
And it's vintage. Whoa, I almost
Look,
dropped it. Yeah.
That's the OG status right there.
It's vintage, so
That's
you know.
OG status. I ain't mad at you. Post game.
My parting gem is ask questions. You know, too often we let our pride get in the way where we're unsure about something, but we don't want to open up and ask somebody for guidance. And listen, here's the thing. You can ask somebody for guidance. They can give you the wrong guidance or they can give you the right guidance. But the thing is, as long as they're giving you something, then you can take from that and put it together yourself to make it work for you. But you want to ask questions to anybody, no matter what situation you're in someone else who may have experienced that certain situation. That's what you want to do. You want to you want to gather as much information as you can and then make the best responsible decision based on that information. I've been a victim of that, where I just act on my own impulse instead of saying, let me ask some people, whether they be older, younger, or what have you. And just think of this in simpler terms. If I want to invest in stock, I'm not going to just jump into the stock market myself. I'm going to call some people who are professionals in that industry. And that's the same thing with basketball. I wouldn't expect someone to be a novice in the game to come in and start coaching without calling someone such as myself or Coach Ryan, just for our experiences, whether good or bad, because you can always learn something from somebody.
Absolutely, man. That's something that you take with you and keep it and hold on to that. Right now, I'm rewatching one of my top 3 favorite shows ever. Billions.
I gotta watch that.
Yeah, Billions is one of my favorite shows ever. Bobby Axelrod is a spirit animal. I mess with you. So I'm gonna steal something from Bobby Axelrod. I heard, you only get one life, so do it all. That's it. Sometimes we get in our own way, thinking of our limitations. Fear is an illusion, let's say. Like, what are you afraid of? You're creating possibilities that haven't happened. You're creating, you're giving yourself limitations about things that haven't happened. There's nothing physically there. It's just you and your own thoughts. So once you can learn to control your thoughts and fight those things, you get one life. So go ahead and do it all. It takes work. It takes you asking questions. It takes you doing all of those things. But you're here. You're capable. Everything that's ever been made in the world, everything that's ever been done, came from the idea of a person. God gave you the ability to put that together. So go do it. So don't worry about anything else that comes, because anything that was meant to be will always be. So that's it for episode 17. And as always, keep it simple, keep it real, and keep going.